Today we're here to talk about the dynamic duo, Autodesk Civil 3D and InfraWorks 360, and how they can be leveraged and utilized together to optimize your workflow. So, as many of you probably are already doing now, Civil 3D is a really powerful tool, and it's great for a lot of the things you do on your everyday projects that you're working on. So if you're doing detailed documentation and generating construction docs and things like that, it's perfect for that, and that's what it's designed for. But what you may not realize is by leveraging some of the power of InfraWorks and using the two products together to help streamline some of that workload, it really becomes an unbeatable workflow at that point in time. So, you can use one product for one and one product for the other, depending upon the different tasks that you may be trying to accomplish. Each product has their own strengths and ways of automation and streamlining of things that you may do. So, based upon what you're doing, why not use the best tool for the job for whatever task may be up at that point in time in your project. So, typically, what most people I find are using Civil 3D for at this point in time would be, something like generating existing conditions models. And that's kind of the base foundation of your project. Before you really begin doing anything, then you can start laying out your preliminary design. Perhaps preliminary roads, preliminary storm. You can then start looking at some of the hydrology, looking at some of the stream crossings, doing some analysis and preliminary design on that as well. And then once you've kind of finalized and gotten approval at some given point, then you would get into the detailed design and construction documentation. So let's take a look at how we can take Civil 3D and accentuate it with the features of InfraWorks to combine the two to make a better workflow. So let's start off by taking a look at developing the existing conditions. So, in this scenario, our goal is basically to develop that backdrop for the preliminary design that you're looking for. So this could be going on the internet, going to various websites, going to different agency and DOT sites to pull down whatever information you can, is usually going to be the best means to grab that information and start developing this. So if you're really well versed in this, you might know and have some websites saved and have this kind of down. But if you're a little bit new to it, you have to do a lot of research, a lot of searching, trying to find this data and compiling it. So, in order to do this, we have to ask, what skills do you or your staff need to be able to do this? Well, you do have to go out there and do a lot of research online at various sources to obtain that data. And then you need a really strong foundation in the functionality of Civil 3D, how to launch the product and how to set up the new project and coordinate systems and generate a surface, apply styles, things like that. And then to utilize some of that map data, you're going to need some foundational map 3D skills to import that GIS data to help add that to your map as well. And then depending upon where you got your data from, it might be from various sources, it might be in different coordinate systems, different units. You might need another third-party product to help transform or translate that data so that it all syncs up and makes sense. So what we're going to do here is we're going to take a little comparison of the two. So on the left-hand side of your screen, you'll see we've got a video running of typical workflow that would be done in Civil 3D. And on the right-hand side, we have a video that has yet to begin of InfraWorks 360. Now, we're giving Civil 3D a pretty big head start, and this is not taking into account any of that research I was talking about. This is kind of assuming that you already know where everything is and you know where to get it. So you have to start by acquiring that data, pulling up websites, zooming in, selecting an area, and then choosing to download that information. Okay. Once you have that information, then you can translate it to the correct format and get it ready to be brought into Civil 3D. And then you can launch Civil 3D and configure that environment so that it's ready to receive that data. Now, once you have that data in there, again, you're going to want to have a nice foundation of skills to be able to know how to do this stuff. So this is kind of under the assumption that you're pretty well versed in Civil 3D and there is no learning curve involved here. So again, you get that all that stuff built up, and once you've got that done, then you want to bring in some of that GIS data. And, oh, and it looks like our InfraWorks video is starting to roll now. Download the file once it's done. So depending upon where you received your data, from the Civil 3D portion of this, you may have different results. You may have different looks. And so, let me pull that back up. So, it depends. At minimum, once you get done, the end result on the Civil 3D end is you'll have an aerial image, you'll have some contours, you'll have a Civil 3D surface, and then maybe some line work for the roadways or water bodies, whatever GIS data you might have pulled down. So not too bad, but on the InfraWorks side, what we end up having is we've got an entire 3D model. It does have your terrain, does have your imagery, has all your roads, has 3D roads, which is nice. It's also going to have a lot more detail. So you're going to have road stripes, curb and gutter, grass, green belt, sidewalks, things like that. You'll also have water features, 3D buildings. Not to mention the fact that with the model builder, you can obtain as much as 200 kilometers additional information on your project for the surrounding area, which is really going to be nice to help complete the picture. So if you want to see how your design is going to incorporate with the existing conditions in the surrounding area, or if you're just trying to generate a visual, just kind of show what's going to be happening in the background for line of sight, what you're going to see off in the distance, it really does complete that picture. So again, looking at Civil 3D, it took about 6 steps in about 7 minutes. And then with InfraWorks, it was really just 3 simple steps in just over 2 minutes. So again, we're not really saying that Civil 3D is bad. Civil 3D is great for all the things it does. But for this initial development of the existing conditions, obviously InfraWorks is able to process and obtain that information a lot quicker, and it doesn't have to do all the research and be subject to what you're able to find at that point in time. So Civil 3D, incredibly accurate. You can process all your data there, build your surfaces, do all your symbology, your labeling, and everything. It's just great. But again, building that initial foundation, and maybe you don't have that data yet, you want to jump right into the project. You want to be able to get that data and really start rolling. And so the nice thing is, once you get your actual survey data or your aerial or whatever you happen to obtain, and you bring that into your Civil 3D and you update it to more refined, accurate data, well, that information can then be brought into InfraWorks and to refine your 3D model. So that's nice as well. So let's take a look at kind of the comparison of what we just encountered. So with just Civil 3D by itself, depending upon, again, how well versed you are and, the data that may be available to you, you could potentially spend hours looking for information. Where in InfraWorks, there's no time spent. It does it for you. It knows exactly where to go and to get that information. And then again, in Civil 3D, you need a really strong Civil 3D skill foundation. and to be able to kind of streamline and blow right through the software and get everything built quickly. Where with the InfraWorks, as you saw, it was really just a couple clicks, very minimal training, very easy to do. And then in Civil 3D, it was multi-steps, and again, it can be kind of messy at times. Some agencies where you pull down GIS data, you might pull down an entire county worth of information, and then you got to do a lot of cleanup and cropping and things like that. Where again, in InfraWorks, all you do is just generate a bounding window and hit the Create Model button. And then in Civil 3D, the end result was an aerial image, some contours and some lines, where in InfraWorks, we actually had the 3D model, the terrain, the imagery, 3D roads, 3D water, 3D buildings, and whatever other information you might have gotten, maybe railways or anything else that might have been there. So now that's the pre-survey portion. Once you've hit post-survey, that's where Civil 3D steps in, and that's where that now begins to shine. So, using InfraWorks, you're not going to process survey data. You're not going to refine that exact detailed information. So you'll jump to Civil 3D, and that's where it's going to really take control of your project, and you're going to process your survey information. You're going to bring in and refine that surface and really dial down exactly what's happening on your project. And with InfraWorks, again, that data can be brought back over so that once you do refine that detailed information, you can then refine your 3D model. So if you want to use that 3D model going forward for additional layout, additional design, meetings, just general conversations, you will have a more refined, accurate information model.